Hello Marvel Legends fans, this is Solid Dave Snake, continuing Marvel Legends March here on my YouTube channel, and bringing you today a very special Throwback Thursday action figure comparison review between the newly released Marvel Legends Infinite Series, Avengers, Build-A-Figure the All-Father Waves, Sentry, compared to his 2006 Toybiz counterpart. And we're just going to jump right into this comparison video because there are a lot of little subtle noticeable differences between these two figures. Where the overall basic design is pretty much the same, there are a lot of subtle differences, and right off the bat you can tell one of the biggest differences is the overall size of these two figures. This new Sentry is a lot bulkier overall, taller, just a little more full all around, where this one is definitely shorter, although still has an overall muscular and big body build, but he is just not nearly as big overall as this new Sentry. And I just want to say thanks to my friend for letting me borrow this. Real close friend of mine. This is his favorite superhero from the Marvel Universe. And me, myself, I'm not too familiar with Sentry overall. I know right now he's one of the Dark Avengers, and he is one of the more overall powerful superheroes in the Marvel Universe. But I almost wish my buddy was here to go over this review with me to give you guys a little more info on him. But we'll just jump right into the actual figures. And the heads of these two, I'm going to bring them up a little closer. There's a big difference between the heads of these two. Almost looks like a completely different character. But the new one has almost a Fabio type of hair look going on, and really chiseled and defined face overall. And white eyes. His pupils are white. Where this new one, or this older one, has the shorter haircut. And you can actually see his pupils on his eye, and has that clean look as well. But I really feel like this head sculpt on this old one is a little small for his body. It just looks out of proportion. And there was actually a variant for the old one's head, which had a beard on it too. And my buddy doesn't have that one, but just from looking at the pictures of it on the back of his packaging, it looks like it fills out a little better on that body. That beard adds a little more little more thickness to his head to especially cover up that joint right there. So if my buddy ever picks up that one, I'll do a review on him one day too. But another big difference between these two is their suit overall has the same kind of design. And one of the biggest differences between the suits is the color. This old Sentry is a lot more bright and vibrant, where this newer one is a lot darker. The old one has a real solid yellow tone overall to his suit, where the newer one has almost a orange type tint to it in the yellow. And even the blue pieces on this new Sentry are darker than the blues on the old one. So the newer one definitely has a little more dark of a color scheme going on. Even in the cape. Cape is a little darker of a blue than the old one. And the capes overall are a lot different. We'll just take a look at both of these while I have them turned around. The new one is a lot more pliable than the old one's cape. Or not as pliable, I'm sorry. And is actually removable. You can take it right out of that peg hole in the back. And it's really hard. See the peg there to plug it into the hole on his back. Which he has two holes, one for the cape and one for a flight stand. Which is pretty neat. And the old one is not removable. However, it is a lot more pliable than the new one. You can pretty much bend it all around anywhere you want. It actually looks a lot bigger and has some really nice detail for the folds of the fabric of the cape. And on the new one of the big differences between these two is on the belt. The actual belt of the old one is a solid blue all the way around with that silver S in the middle. Whereas this new one, he has the blue band going around, which can actually be taken off right here if you really wanted to. But his S is actually a big, almost bronze-looking plate with the S in the middle of it, and a lot bigger of an S. I could just not get him to stand right now. There we go. And that's pretty much it for the costume. Oh, the new one doesn't have full gloves where the old one does. That's another big difference there. But articulation-wise, these two are a lot different and have similar cuts here and there. But any fan of Marvel Legends knows Toybiz and Hasbro's articulation have really varied over the years. And Hasbro almost took away a lot of the articulation points that you will see in this older Sentry. Of course, both action figures have a ball joint and hinge at the head. The old one being able to rotate all the way around and hinge really far down and really far back as well. And the new one, he will go down that far, not nearly as far as the old one, and not far back at all because of that Fabio type hair. Although it will spin all the way around. Although being a little tough with that hair like that. And both of them have ball joints and hinges at the shoulders, which this one will go up that far and rotate all the way around. Both of them have cuts at the bicep. Both of them have double jointed elbows. This one being able to go that far up. And the new one only has a hinge and pivot here at the hand. However, the old one has a cut here at the glove and no actual hinge. Or, I'm sorry, he does have a hinge at the hand, which will go that far up and that far up and that far down. Although he does not have the spin at the hand. That's where you need this point on the wrist. And the neatest thing about him is he has individual finger articulation. You can literally move every little finger on its own. Which is something Hasbro will probably never go back to. So, if you want to have your Sentry giving you the middle finger, you can. Well, I might not be able to. I'm having such a hard time. So there you go. You'll never see this articulation back with Hasbro. They've definitely cut back on the articulation. But both figures do have a ab crunch as well, which will go that far down and that far back on the old one. And the new one will go that far forward and really far back. So he gets a great range of movement. And the new one also has a cut at the waist, whereas this old one has it as well. Both of them have ball joints and hinges at the hips. The old one going this far out and this far back down. And he has a cut at the thigh. And you can get him to kick that far up as well. And the new one has the same thing. Get him to kick that far up and that far out. And has that same cut. And both have double jointed knees. The new one having a cut right here as well. And a hinge at the foot. And ankle pivot. Whereas on the legs of this new one, like I said, he has double jointed knees as well. And he has a cut right there at the boot and a hinge at the ankles and toe articulation, which is something you don't see on Marvel Legends too much anymore. So, that's the two Sentries. Both of them have things that are better than the other. And if I had to choose which one I like more, I'd have to say this newer one. I like his overall bulkiness, and I like his head sculpt a lot better. Although some of the articulation I think is neater on the old Sentry, I would say the newer one is my more favorite. So, alright guys, thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow with the Build-A-Figure Odin for these new Marvel Legends. So, stay tuned for that, guys. And I will catch you later.